Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is January the 8th, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Trying to stay warm. It's been a cold one all day for me. But overall, we're good. Let's see here. What do I have to report on the personal news? Not much. It's just been a ho hum day. Work went well. Food corner was pretty good. I finished off the rest of my catfish that I had, and I made catfish and mac and cheese. I will say we got the mac and cheese out of the little tray, but it was pretty good. I forget the name of it, but it was like a good baked mac and cheese, and we went ahead and baked it, so that was good. I also felt like I didn't have enough catfish, so like I added some popcorn chicken on the side. And that turned out to be a bit of a downfall because I just had too much food at that point. It was just way too much for muchness. And not to mention, I'm not done. I also had 2 pieces of bread and I had some hush puppies that I had bought. So, yeah, it was a heavy meal. And I got about halfway through and I hit a wall and I was like, that's unfortunate. So we had to, RIP the rest of that chicken I didn't eat. And I feel like I definitely wasn't wasteful. I've never really been wasteful as a kid, right? Like that was something that was like low key instilled in me, and I'm just a fat kid by nature, so it was, yeah, no problem. I'll pack it in. I'll eat it all, no problem. Leave no milk behind. So yeah, I was a real eater, and I have been ever since. But I definitely find moments where I go, oh, my eyes were too big for my stomach, and I need to I need to stop. Like, you know what I mean? Almost have like that sunken cost when it comes to eating, and it's like, no, you gotta finish all of this because I know you're not gonna fucking do leftovers, so you gotta eat it all now. And it's like, Isaiah, did you enjoy your meal? Okay, good. The meal's over. That's fine. The mission accomplished. You can let it go. It's fine. You know what I mean? So yeah, I really that's like a mental thing for me. I'm working on. It's just saying, hey, you're good. Your stomach is good. You don't have to keep gorging yourself. The things you live and learn about at 33. Anyway, let me do my startup, and then we will get into some news. Do 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 do. Actually, before we get into this, a bit of a weight update, I guess, because I really haven't really talked about it. But for me, I was glad that I more or less kept my summer goal of, excuse me, I kept my summer goal of keeping off that 20 pounds. Like when I initially started, I was like at 283. I was really upset, really bummed out. And I'm glad to report that, like, yeah, like we're weighing in still around 260, drops sometimes lower, around 255-ish, what have you. But yeah, I'm happy with those numbers. I would say my goal for this year, a bit of a resolution. I know we're coming in a bit late on these kind of things, but I would like to lose 10 more pounds. I would like to get around the 250 to ideally 245 range, and that would be great for me. Now, I know right now, like, I'm just working out at home, so it's a bit limiting in that regard. And I'm also like, oh man, I'm kind of lazy. I do my daily workouts still, of course, but it's hard for me to like expand on them and keep doing more sessions of them. I find that I just don't want to commit the time. So I guess I'm kind of hoping for springtime, and that like when it gets warmer out, I can start doing walks again, and I'll be hitting them sooner in the year, and hopefully that'll have a positive impact. But we'll see. Fingers crossed. Knock on some wood. And that being said, yeah, let's get into some news. I had more personal shit to talk about than I thought. From the Associated Press, or the AP. Israeli strike kills an elite Hezbollah commander, and the latest escalation linked to the war in Gaza. An Israeli airstrike killed an elite Hezbollah commander Monday in southern Lebanon, the latest in an escalating exchange of strikes across the border that have raised fears of another Mideast war, even as the fighting in Gaza exacts a mounting toll on civilians. Also, I don't know if I've said this before. I probably will say this again. I find it very weird that like news articles won't say Middle East sometimes. They like want to get cute and cutesy and say like Mideast. It's like, no, dude, we're not talking about fucking, I don't know, a place in the U.S. Like, you can say Middle East. Jesus, I don't know. That seems weird to me. The strike on an SUV killed a commander in a secretive Hezbollah unit that operates along the border, according to a Lebanese security official who spoke on the condition of anonymity in keeping with regulations. The commander, Wissam al-Tawil, was a veteran of the Iranian-backed Lebanese force who took part in the 2006 cross-border kidnapping of 2 Israeli soldiers that triggered the last war between Israel and Hezbollah, an official in the group said. He is the most senior Hezbollah militant killed since Hamas's October 7th attack. We all know where they're going there with that. But yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a bit different because this isn't necessarily like with Wissam al-Tawil. It's not necessarily related to that like it was with I'm forgetting his name. I think it's Hassan al-Sali. I'm getting that wrong, but it's a different person in the sense of like this was a person who had moved into Lebanon and was hiding out there, whereas this is a person from Lebanon. This is a actual like Hezbollah member that is being targeted. Now, I know Hezbollah has said, hey, we're going to retaliate for this, that it's like an inevitable thing. I believe they also retaliated for the previous airstrike that happened. So, I mean, this tit for tat is going to continue as well, like it has been. Another add-on is that U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, who is back in the region this week, appears to be trying to head off a wider conflict. So, I mean, this is a very cyclical thing, but I do feel like, yet again, this is Israel kind of pushing that envelope in a time where it's like, hey, I thought we didn't want this to keep splashing outward and potentially becoming a wider conflict. But it seems that, like, at the end of the day, according to Israel, like, their right of defense is going to extend to this, and they're not going to care, and they're not going to stop. There's some more developments and updates in this article, but I really just kind of wanted to focus on that. I know that it's kind of been reiterated a lot in the news that, yet again, the focus is them moving towards the south, but it's just so frustrating to hear that because it's like they're already there. They're already doing these strikes in both areas, in the north and the south, and it's just it's unending. It's unyielding, it seems, even with the troop withdrawal and everything. So it's very frustrating in that regard. Another half of this that I want to get to from Al Jazeera. Hamza, son of Al Jazeera's Walel Dahdouh, killed in Israeli attack in Gaza. And also, I'm sorry, I get these names wrong. I know I'm a piece of shit for that, especially because we've talked about Walel a lot. And it's a shame that, yet again, we are covering the loss of another one of his family members. And it's so disheartening, And I give this man so much credit for being so stout and resolute throughout all of this grief, throughout all this loss, and, then having to console other people and then having to keep this strong face, and then not to mention getting back out there into the field that literally may inevitably wind up taking him. I mean, he's already been injured from this shit. We've covered this man a good amount on this podcast, so it's just very upsetting to hear that he's lost even more now. Hamza Dahdouh, the eldest son of Al Jazeera's Gaza bureau chief, Walel Dahdouh, has been killed by an Israeli missile strike in the western part of Han Yunis, Gaza. Journalist Mustafa Turara was also killed in the attack when the vehicle they were traveling in near Al Mawasi, a supposedly safe area towards the southwest, was struck by a missile. A third passenger, Hassim Rajab, was seriously injured. According to reports from Al Jazeera correspondents, Hamza and Mustafa's vehicle was targeted as they were trying to interview civilians displaced by previous bombings. Hamza, 27, was a journalist just like his father. Mustafa was also in his 20s. And it said in this article that, like, Hamza, obviously was already a journalist, but, when the attack came, and took the life of, some of his family members, some of his closest family members, he was even more determined to do his job and to, like, keep carrying out this work. And it's sad that this is the thing that it devoured him. Like, this shouldn't happen. It is completely unnecessary. It's not like you're going to hear anything but fucking crickets or like, oh, we thought they were Hamas or something like that from the IDF. Like, it's insane. And then this beat, this drum of war is going to keep marching on. And it's just so disheartening to see. Like, it just feels so targeted. I don't understand how you can say it's not. And because, again, I can't say this enough. We've covered this shit so fucking much. And I struggle to think how you can play some kind of straw man argument here to say, oh no, this isn't some kind of targeted fucking thing. This isn't something they're trying to do to demoralize, to completely devalue these people. You know what I mean? Like, it's so frustrating. I cannot stress this enough to cover these kind of stories day in and day out. But I know that it's so important. We can't not cover it. You know what I mean? For my limited audience, I know this shit ain't easy, but we have to talk about it. We have to fucking cover this shit. We can't look away. I think that's fucking important. I know I don't do it enough justice, but I do as well as I fucking can. Goddamn. But yeah. Obviously, my thoughts are, with Wael, and, my condolences to him and everyone impacted. I mean, this article also goes in to talk about other journalists and other people who have lost their lives, who've been martyred. And, once again, my heart is with them as well. So yeah, I mean, not to short that out or anything like that. That's why I referenced the article. By all means, check it out, read that. I do want to move on to some other news. We can say lighter news, from Reuters. Moonlander problem threatens mission after Vulcan rocket makes successful debut. So yeah, we're back on our moon race shit. A robotic lander built by a private company suffered a propulsion system issue on its way to the moon on Monday, upending the first U.S. soft lunar landing attempt in over 50 years, as mission managers scrambled to fix its position in space. So yeah, apparently I thought this was like some easy breezy, beautiful shit. And I thought, hey, this rocket, and apparently it's not NASA, though NASA is involved. I believe it's like a Boeing Lockheed Martin collaboration. And, essentially it's just like kind of a part of this like new style of space race where it's like, hey, we have this long-standing goal that we want to get, first, like, I believe it's like first, like, black woman and a group of people to the moon, because, this whole exploration shit. I know we covered India last year. That was a thing. So yeah, there's just more of that in the works here. And these private companies have kind of collaborated with NASA to make this shit happen. So I initially heard, hey, missile launch went well. It's going cool. I think it's like a 46-day situation. But now I'm hearing that the soft landing, which is essentially the landing you want, a hard landing means it crashed and we're fucked. It's an L. At this point, let's see. Let's read a little bit more. Space robotics firm Astrobotic Technologies' Peregrine lunar lander had launched successfully to space at 2:18 a.m. From Cape Canaveral, Florida, aboard the first flight of Vulcan, a rocket that had been under development for a decade by Boeing and Lockheed Martin, a joint venture United Launch Alliance as well. So yeah, three-way. There you go, menage a trois. But hours after separating from Vulcan, Astrobotic said issues with Peregrine's propulsion system briefly prevented the spacecraft from angling itself toward the sun for power. When mission engineers regain control, the faulty propulsion system is losing valuable propellant, forcing Astrobotic to consider alternative mission profiles, suggesting a moon landing is no longer achievable. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what comes from this. I thought, like I said, this was just like a very textbook situation, but apparently, as some things can go when you're trying to go to space, accidents happen, issues happen. And I think there was a bit of like, hey, we know there's a bit of incurred risk here. That's been, affected in the budget, what have you. Hopefully, if this doesn't make it, if it doesn't get the soft landing that we're looking for, there'll be future ones, but, I'll definitely keep you posted on that. I thought it was some cool, interesting space news to cover real quick. But yeah, let's move on to our last beat for the night, for the day, depending on when you're listening, I guess. But you know what that means. I'm going to take my break. We've been hip-hopping along. Ooh, yeah. All right. Our last article comes from CNBC TV 18. Also, I want to add, I was initially going to pull this article from Bloomberg, and I was able to access it, but they were just being annoying with the paywall-y shit, and I said, you know what? Fuck you, Bloomberg. Fuck off. I'll just go somewhere else. So now we're here. Anyway, U.S. congressional leader... did I read the title? I did not. Whoopsie. U.S. Congress leaders ease shutdown risk with spending cap deal. Now, I'm sure you forgot or buried it, whatever, like I tend to when it comes to these kind of things, that, we did have another government shutdown in the wings coming up. And it was a staggered situation that was supposed to take place, or is supposed to take place. I should, maybe not be too ahead of myself. The 19th of this month, and then the 2nd of February. But U.S. congressional leaders announced a deal on a top-line spending level for the current fiscal year, lessening the chances of a partial government shutdown on January 20th. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, a Democrat, and House Speaker Mike Johnson, a Republican, negotiated the deal, clearing the way for appropriations committees in both chambers to negotiate detailed spending bills now that they have an overall limit for the amount those bills can spend. Excuse me. The deal set the cap for the 12 annual spending bills at $1.59 trillion. So yeah, I mean, there's some loose things that are being agreed to. Granted, we are just getting started with this. We got to take this shit to the House, run it through the House. And, there's already people, I think like Chip Roy or whatever the fuck, that are already like, this is stupid, blah, 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 I don't like it. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see how it goes. Generally, these guys like to push it to the fucking limit. And, potentially things like Department of Agriculture, Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development, Energy, and Veterans Affairs could get shut down. And that would suck. That'd be very bad. That'd be very un-fucking American of us to do that. But hey, these kind of things have happened before. Usually cooler heads will wind up prevailing, and it doesn't happen, and it gets fixed. So yeah, I just kind of figured, hey, we'll just kind of throw this in on the back end, call it a little bit of filler news, if you will. But hey, hopefully this deal kind of works out and everyone kind of winds up towing the line. But we'll see. I mean, there's issues on the table. Immigration here, Israel, Hamas there, Ukraine, Russia, blah, blah. I mean, there's so much shit on the table to argue about for Congress. You just never know, especially the House. The House is so fucking spicy right now. But yeah, I mean, that's where we're at for today, and that's where I'm going to leave it. If you'd like to help out and support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Isaiah News. I shout you out at the top of the month if you are a paid subscriber, and plug a project if you'd like. And then there's free ways to hit me up, isaiahnews1@gmail.com. And then let's see here. Find me on the socials. Pick your fancy, choose your fighter, whatever. I'll be there, either me or the podcast. And hopefully you subscribe to the YouTube. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. The subscribe button is really the most important. I'm trying to get those numbers up. And comments are great. Those help out too in terms of I think for the algorithm vibes, whatever, the machine, AI gods, I don't know, bleep, blor, bloop. So yeah, do that please. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.